Hey guys, this is Agent Mindstorm. Mojang has released the first few, well, okay, more than a few, but they've released the first Caves and Cliffs update snapshots at this point, so I would like to go over the features they've added and give my thoughts on them. I already did the glow squid in a video, but you know what, I'm just going to do the rest of them in one video, and we're not going to be covering the glow squid or its related features because I already talked about that. These are going to be listed in no particular order, like not chronological, not feature-wise, it's just the order that I built them out in my arrangement world, so let's get started. The first few features I'm going to cover are just kind of random stuff here. We got the Spyglass, we got the bundle, and we got the bucket of Axolotl, which is just the whole Axolotl mob. Since Axolotls are really fun, we'll start with them. So Axolotls, the creation, the model, the texture, the animation, all of that is incredible. And I love it so much. The bucket texture, oh, just perfect. I only have one real problem with the Axolotl's implementation, and that's they're only found in rare underground caves. So you're never going to see these mobs. These incredible, cute, pink, blue little guys, you're never going to get to see them because they're underground, and that just makes me sad. I feel like they should rarely spawn in whatever ocean would fit for where they spawn in real life. I don't actually know. I was gonna say warm ocean, but they've already got coral reef, so give cold ocean something. Give them axolotls, come on. Bundles are a very good idea, and the way they showed it on Minecraft Live was a good implementation, but they took away the feature where you can hold right-click to add a bunch of things to the bundle. So it's like, what's even the point now? Now you have to click on them, and this takes forever. This is not fun. Just let me drag it across it, and then, oh, you can actually click to let them all out at once, that's cool. But let me drag it in inventories, and bundles will truly be a lot better. And finally, the Spyglass. I have some major issues with the Spyglass. It's not because it's like copying Optifine or whatever. My main issue is that zoom is not a feature that should be a reward. Zoom is an accessibility feature. That's like if they locked the auto jump behind a specific type of boot enchantment you had to get. No, just make it so that you can press a key to zoom in to see into the distance. Some people have poor eyesight. Some people have vision problems. I guess that's the same thing as poor eyesight. So you should not be locking their ability to see in the distance behind an item that you have to craft with rare materials like Amethyst. Please give a zoom key separate to the telescope. Thank you. Okay, Tinted Glass. Here we're getting to more positive stuff. I love Tinted Glass. It's such a simple idea, just glass that blocks light, and you can make like dark boxes with it. Like just something as simple as this, that is now a mob spawnable area, even though you can see right through it. I don't know how this idea was missed in past updates, but I'm so glad they're adding it now. The only thing is that it should make beacon beams still work, but be invisible. Instead of stopping the beacon beam, you should still be able to get the effect without the visual of the beacon beam. This is the perfect opportunity to remove that that annoying stain in your sky when you've got a beacon nearby. Like the conduit is just so nice because you can hide it away. Let us do the same thing for beacons. Candles. Candles are honestly perfect. These are implemented very, very well. They do use particles quite a lot, so I can imagine they would have a performance impact, but I don't really have an issue with that on my computer, so I'm not going to be concerned about that. And who knows, maybe they balanced it out so it doesn't do enough particles to actually lag or something. Yeah, candles are just another one of those perfect little additions that fit really well. The only thing here is that the default candle color matches Caucasian skin tones really well, and I wish we had terracotta and wool this color, because we don't have really a Caucasian skin tone color yet. Like, we've got, we don't have a lot of skin tone colors, let's be honest now, but peach color seems like one that we should definitely have, as well as just other shades of color. Like, more color shades, please, but specifically this one, because it's very different from the existing shades. Stones. This wall is just to show all the different stone types now. I really like them, for the most part, except Deepstone, or Deepslate, or whatever it's called. There's a few things I would like to criticize about that, but we'll get that in the next section. Right now, everything here blends together really well. Calcite and Tuff were kind of surprising additions to me, because they're new rocks that just don't do anything. They're like more granite, andesite, and diorite, but they do different things from them, or, okay, they look visually different to them, so they can be used differently in builds, and smooth basalt was definitely the biggest surprise of these snapshots so far, because basalt was added in the Nether update, and I feel like that's when they would have added smooth basalt if they had really wanted to, but it actually fits perfectly. The only weird thing is it actually looks less smooth than the default basalt side texture, but it has the texture on all sides, so I guess it balances out in some way. The only thing is bedrock. Bedrock has always looked real ugly, because it's literally high contrast stone. It was originally high contrast stone, then when Jappa recolored it, he gave it a slightly unique texture, but it's still basically just high contrast stone. Please give bedrock a unique texture. Deepslate. Deepslate in a vacuum, great addition. More gray colors are always good, especially when you have stuff like this. This is like a nether brick color, like black nether bricks. So we basically have black nether bricks in the game. This color kind of looks like a dispenser, but it doesn't do any redstone stuff. This is like polished andesite, but darker. My issue is this is almost the exact same thing as blackstone. I mean, it's even got the same naming convention. I joked about this on Twitter. It's like Deepslate, Grimstone, Blackstone. Wow, it's all the same thing. So it is a different tone, a very different tone, in fact, to how Blackstone looks. So it does service as like a separate addition. But I feel like we need to get more slabs and stairs of different colors because we have an absurd amount of grayscale slabs and stairs now. Please give us concrete slabs and stairs, or terracotta slabs and stairs. They're also stony, and they've got nothing. So Deepslate, cool addition, just I feel like it's coming at the wrong time and we should be getting other blocks before more gray slabs, stairs, and walls. Ores, new ores, I was actually kind of thinking like, why do we need Deepslate ore textures? But now that I've seen them, these textures will look really nice in builds as like highlight colors, especially the diamond and the redstone. Oh, I love those two so much. The redstone texture, I think the lines could be a little linier because when you place redstone down, it forms in lines. And I like that being like the redstone dust lore or something. I don't really know. The only thing is I think we should have Deepslate variants for every ore because right now emerald, copper, and coal just don't have Deepslate versions. It makes sense for the nether versions not to have like nether quartz for the overworld, or actually we do have gold for the overworld, so that doesn't really count. But in the overworld, I feel like we should have just all the ores have two versions for building purposes, because I would really like to have a highlighted orange and green color like you can do with the diamond, or like Deepslate emerald. Speaking of emerald, the new emerald ore is only okay. One of the things about Minecraft's emeralds that make them unique to other gems is that they are very angular and shaped. Like, this has a very obvious shape to it. A lot of them don't look cut, like the diamonds are pretty lumpy. In fact, everything is pretty lumpy except the ingots, which have been smelted, so it makes sense. But the emeralds are a very shaped material by default, so I think it would make sense for the emerald ore to stay a little squarer. Besides that, I do like the new ore textures. Copper, I think, could also use a little more bronze on the texture. But, I mean, this texture is fine. I'm not gonna, like, dislike it. The rest of the textures look fine to me. It's just gonna take some getting used to, especially for the iron texture. Copper! Copper is another one of those additions that just feels perfect to me. I honestly... The only thing that sort of annoys me is how long it's been said that it'll take to get, like, the oxidized versions of copper, but honestly, I'm not too sad. These blocks are basically just prismarine colored, so it's not like we're missing out on pieces of the color palette by not having oxidized copper available all the time. It takes a while to get, but also it's not that unique, so I'm not too fussed about it. The way that you can wax it to make it stay oxidized in the current state is also very good for builders, so you don't have to worry about your creative builds deteriorating over time. The lightning rod is a feature that feels totally pointless because lightning has never, ever struck one of my builds. And if it does, fires in Minecraft don't go very far. They go like 15 blocks and then burn out. So I've never been very afraid of lightning, but it is good, I guess, to have a way to save it for, like, iron farms and stuff, for any farms where you don't want it to be killing your mobs. Crystals, amethyst. Another perfect addition. Now, when they first added Amethyst into the snapshots, and ooh, we need night vision here. It is too dark. Alright, when they first added Amethyst into the snapshots, I thought, these geodes are way, way too rare. You're never going to find them in survival because you just have to dig into like some tiny little random area and hope that you're going to find some amethyst. But once they introduced the big caves, these gigantic cave generation systems, I find that the amethyst actually intersects with the caves a lot more. So it doesn't feel ridiculously rare anymore. Like here, the amethyst geode is in the cave, and you would see that and be like, oh, it's an amethyst geode. So I think that problem kind of solved itself. So amethyst is perfectly implemented now. Or there's still one thing that annoys me, actually. I feel like budding amethyst, even though it's not that different from the amethyst texture, it would be nice to have a way to get this texture in survival for building. I get they don't want you to be able to pick it up to make a crystal farm wherever, but I don't think that that makes it more interesting. Just let us either pick up the budding amethyst or let us, like, crack amethyst and then just have it have an identical texture to budding amethyst, because I like this texture, especially for, like, if you're building a big structure and then you want to break up the amethyst texture a little bit. It adds a nice variation in the texture that you literally can't get in survival. The little amethyst buds, oh, perfect. I kind of wish, like, you know how with copper you can freeze where it is? I wish you could do that for amethyst, because the different sizes would look really good varied in a cave, but the sizes will keep growing and eventually... Or wait, maybe they won't grow if they're not on crystal. I actually don't know this. And something else I should probably mention now, because amethyst is the most obvious example, the sound design in Caves and Cliffs has been on point so far. Every new sound they've added has sounded great to me. There's not a single thing I dislike. So sound design is incredible. Deep dripstone, pointed dripstone and dripstone blocks. I kind of hope that the dripstone blocks do something, but even if they don't, they're a nice new shade of brown to build with that I don't think we have had before. We've had stripped wood that's gotten close, like jungle wood, but nothing really like this grayish brown. So yeah, dripstone is a cool addition just for building, even if that's all it's going to be for. I feel like it should have slabs and stairs though, or even like smooth dripstone, but they don't want to add too many blocks in this block game. But without a doubt, the most genius addition of the dripstone is the way you can get infinite lava and water with it now. So they could remove the old water generators and people would probably be okay, because you can now get it from a single water source and not two. You still do have to get a dripstone somehow though, so I think maybe wandering traders should sell dripstones occasionally so that you can buy a dripstone even in Skyblock or something and then get an infinite lava generator. But for the most part, yeah, the infinite dripstone thing is just so smart, and I love how the drips actually drip into the cauldron. They haven't implemented the lush caves officially yet, so I guess I'm a little premature on making these judgments, but most of it's positive, so I don't think you're going to be complaining that I'm being unfair. Azalea Leaves, man, just what a great texture. I know that might seem weird because it's just another leaf texture, but it has a unique color from the others. I mean, if we put the other leaves down, there are so many leaves in this game now. All these other leaves are either greener or darker. Azalea leaves are lighter, so I feel like they would fit in like a cherry blossom garden or something, where you're trying to recreate how that would look, and they would just fit perfectly because they look lighter, and this nice lighter green color of the whole lush cave is very nice. Also the flowering version, just to add variation in the trees. I love variation blocks. Anything that can help add a little variation to my builds is appreciated. Small Dripleaf. A good decorative block, but it's a shame that this is only going to be used in the lush caves, because I experimentally put some around a swamp, and they look great in swamps. If these were blocks that changed color per biome, kind of like grass, and then they could be like dark green in swamps, I think they would add a very much needed variation in the swamp foliage, because right now it's just vines, lily pads, and trees. That's swamps. You could add drip leaves to it, and that would be really fun. Big drip leaves, I don't think I have any issues with these, except, oh wait, no, there's one very small one. In creative, let us place drip leaves on top like this, because right now you actually have to get out bone meal and bone meal it, which you don't have to do for any other block like this. Like, you can just build bamboo on top of itself, or cacti. Like, you don't have to bone meal the cactus, so don't make us bone meal the Dripleaf, please. Also, I guess you can behead the Dripleaf if you cut off the top, and then you can have like a little... it looks like a chain, but for grass? And also it's only upside down? I don't know. Looks cool. I've never realized you could do that. Spore Blossoms. Spore Blossoms, the particle effect is just sublime. I mean, it reminds me of, you know how the basalt deltas has that ash in the sky all the time? It's like that, but it is movable, and you can put it wherever you want. So if you have like a grove back at your house, put some spore blossoms in it, and then they'll make it look so cool. It'll be like a lush, jungly wonderland. The only thing that's kind of annoying is they can only go on the ceiling. I wish you could place them on the ground. Like, maybe they would only generate on the ceiling, but you can place them on the ground later, because A, this icon is very, very ugly and does not do justice to how the actual flower looks. And B, just give creators more options, Mojang. Come on, this is the same thing about, like, adding vertical slabs. Now, the only weird thing about the Spore Blossom is something that I don't even know how I would fix. The pixel size looks a little strange. Mainly, there are two reasons for this, because A, you have two intersecting textures, so the corners have smaller pixels than normal. This is a very strange effect that almost makes the other pixels look bigger. And B, since the texture is so long, it's longer than a block, it almost looks like it's too high resolution to be a block texture in the default game. Kind of like the Ravager problem, like where Ravagers have Ravagers fit the pixel size of the game, but they just look strangely detailed next to the rest of it, and next to mobs like the Ghast, who have like 8 pixels total. That's a joke. Other Azalea stuff, Azalea bushes, man, perfect. Another just perfect addition. Like, for gardens, these are so great. Like, in Animal Crossing, for my short amount of time when I actually played that game on my Switch, I used bushes and, like, azalea bushes, so being able to do that in Minecraft is also awesome. I wasn't sure about the model at first, because it seemed kind of like a weird merging of block and plant styles, but that's exactly what the bush is, so it makes sense. And also, the effect is great, so I don't really care. What else? Glowberries. Glowberries. They are a food source, but I don't think anyone's ever going to actually use them. This is the same issue as sweet berries and cookies and every food that isn't steak or cooked pork chop. It is not fast enough growing or fast enough eating to make up for just how good steak and pork chop is. It's a real issue with the game. I hope that they do something about food in the future. It looks really similarly toned to honey right now, and I'm not sure about that, especially with it being next to it. I think that that could give off the impression that they're related when they're actually totally separate things. Aside from that, though, the glowberry mechanics, the way foxes can steal them, it's cool. It does make me question, how is a fox ever going to get close to a glowberry, because either they're going to be put in somebody's farm, or they're going to be in an underground cave, and foxes usually don't go to either place. Two last things up here. Moss blocks and moss carpets. These are a very strange addition to me. It's almost like they added Optifine grass, but just as its own block. I do like it. I like the idea, I guess. My biggest problem is just make it use the grass texture. There's no reason it should be a different texture, because now it's really obvious that you placed moss and not grass. So some sort of way to just place grass carpets would be appreciated, because right now you can still tell when it's a different texture. There is a weird mechanic with moss that I just learned about today, where you can bone meal it, and, like, sometimes blocks around it will turn into moss. I'm not actually sure exactly how this works, but, like, see that? Or at least place a moss carpet. Maybe it doesn't turn them into moss. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know, I saw an Ilmango video where he was making a perimeter with moss growing, and that seems like an interesting feature that could cause a lot of people to accidentally erase valuable blocks because they didn't realize bone mealing it would replace them. Now, if that doesn't actually happen, then I'm just totally wrong and wasted a bunch of your time. Last thing of the lush cave features, rooted dirt and hanging roots. Hanging roots, they're fine. I don't know. They're pretty ugly, and I doubt I would ever actually use them in a real build unless it's like an underground cavey build. But rooted dirt. I at first thought, what is the point of rooted dirt? We already have dirt and coarse dirt. But I realized that rooted dirt is basically the inverse of coarse dirt. Coarse dirt is like darker dirt, and rooted dirt is now lighter dirt. So it's just more variation for your dirt paths. So I can never be mad about variation, man. It's good. Everything is good. Oh, one weird thing about the Dripleaf. It can only be placed on clay. Now, I am assuming this is because Dripleaf needs water, and clay is a wet block. But I think if you're going to do something like this, where a block that needs water can also be placed on clay, you should really give that ability to sugarcane too. That would save sugarcane farms a lot of pain and headache, and also give clay more of a use. So sugarcane, bring it on par with Dripleaf, because Dripleaf is very cool. Alright, we're out of lush caves, finally. There's so much stuff to talk about there. Honestly, one of my big criticisms of the lush cave and the dripstone cave, and a lot of the way it seems Mojang is approaching the cave update, is a lot of the new features are found in little pockets of the world, and the rest of the world is normal. Like, don't just make occasional rare caves with all these cool blocks and textures. Make it be every cave under a plains biome looks like this. Why not? Who cares if these blocks are rare? Who cares if axolotls will be a little easier to find? It's more fun, because you can get it more, and it's not like a rare thing, it's like a big overhaul. Same thing for Amethyst, they have the same issue. Same thing for Dripstone, that has the same issue. Put the cool features that people want to see everywhere. Don't just hide them in little pockets. Oh, and it's the same for the Deep Dark, too. Well, I guess that hasn't been implemented, but the way they're talking about it, it sure seems like it. Sculk Sensor, though, it's something that sounds really cool for redstone makers, but when you actually think about it, these things can be activated from up to this far away by pistons. Pistons are pretty much the reason you would make a redstone design. So if you can't use pistons anywhere near Sculk Sensors without triggering a bunch of fake signals, you're going to have... it's not going to do anything. I mean, Sculk Sensors will be very hard to integrate into redstone builds, and I guess that's a good thing because true wireless redstone, I don't think should be a thing. Like, actually wireless redstone is still kind of crazy to me that this is a feature in the game. Like, you can remotely turn on a light by hitting a lever on a piston that's not even connected to the system. But I've come to accept it. I guess it balances out these two issues by saying, like, well, you can't use it with pistons, so you'll never find a use for this stuff. But it feels like Sculk Sensors are just strange. And also, in the real game world, what's the point of a Sculk Sensor? Think about this, because it triggers redstone signals, right? That's a cool feature. I like that. But usually things that emit redstone signals in this game are because of a comparator, where it's like measuring it. It's not because the block itself has redstone properties, so that leads me to question, in the Deep Dark, will there be, like, something this activates? What's going to be the point of a Sculk Sensor if... I just don't get it. I don't get why the Sculk Sensor is a feature. Or, like, it doesn't make sense in the world to me. But it's a cool redstone feature, so I can't really complain that much. Last thing of this blocks list I've created is the powder snow. Powder snow feels really weird to me. For starters, you know how Mojang is always talking about, oh yeah, we wanted to remove that feature that could get players in danger without their knowledge, like the lightning rod. That was the big thing they were talking about with that. They're like, yeah, you can finally protect your builds from the world randomly screwing you over and striking you with lightning. Like, that's not really the player's fault. Powder snow is almost on that same level to me. Now, I'm using a texture pack that removes the blue tint on snow, so you can actually see powder snow a little easier. If I take this resource pack off, it is very hard to tell the difference between powder snow and snow. Like, if you just saw some ground and you weren't really looking closely, you'd just be like, oh, it's snow, and then walk and then sink into it. You can't jump out of it, but you will freeze to death in there. Now, this would be a big issue. However, my real issue with powder snow is not how it is hard to see, but rather once you do get into it, even though you can't jump out of it, you can break it in 2 seconds. And then you're safe. Like, that's all the effort it takes to break powder snow. You will never actually take damage from powder snow because you can punch it with your fist in less than a second. So what is the point of powder snow? really, does it fall? Does it fall? I actually don't know the answer to this question. And, I mean, no, it doesn't fall. So it's not falling snow. It doesn't really kill you. It can be used to make a mob trap. Cool. That's all, I guess. Or for a torture chamber. But only with mining fatigue, and usually Elder Guardians and mountains are found on opposite sides of the world. So yeah, powder snow is just a weird thing to me because it doesn't seem like it'll ever actually do anything in the game. I'm worried it'll be the next, like, polar bear. They added it and it has functionality, you just never get to see any of it. Speaking of the next polar bear, I know I'm not showing it in the background, but the goat from the Minecraft Bedrock betas is going to be the next polar bear. I'm calling it right now. The next panda, the next polar bear, the next ocelot, the next feature that is added, and then everyone forgets about it in 2 seconds. I mean, I already forgot about it when making this video. It took me until, like, brainstorming, what are all the features, and I made this stuff out in this world, and then I was like, wait, what do the Bedrock betas have? Oh, they have goats! Because they'll be in mountains, right? Okay, why would anyone ever go to the mountains? It's the same issue with the polar bear and the panda. You don't find anything interesting in jungles or in snowy tundras, except, I guess, villages or jungle temples, so you don't usually go there. So you'll never interact with the goat because you'll never want to be on a mountain. Unless the mountain generation that they're changing will be very significant, I don't think the goat will end up making any impact on the game, which is sad because the goat is a cool idea. It's just... It's a fox. It's a polar bear. It's all the biome-specific mobs they've been adding that you never ever see. It's just another one of those. So those are my thoughts on most of the Caves and Cliffs features. I know it sounds really negative, but really anything I didn't mention here is considered a positive. If there's something I missed, you can consider it a positive opinion in my book, I guess. And now we get to talk about my absolute favorite thing about the update, and that is the cave generation. Oh my goodness. Mojang, look what you've given us. Look what you've given us. And just to give you the real idea of how cool this will look, I'm going to take away my effects. And you can still sort of see what's going on. I know it's a little dark and YouTube compression is pretty bad at this, but you can see the lava flows, and you can see the cave lichen, and you can see little spots all throughout the cave. This is such a cool generation. The stalactites and stalagmites, the dripstone. This world is a dripstone caves world. It's not implemented in the default game, but once they do implement dripstone, man, is it gonna be awesome. Just look at this. Look at this cave. This is a real cave in the game that you could find. You could explore this in survival. It keeps going on and on. This is how the cave update is. This is how Minecraft is now. And that is awesome. Especially these gigantic dripstones. Man, the new cave generation, they just knocked it out of the park with it. Even in normal worlds without dripstone, it still looks incredible. Like, look at this diagonal dripstone. That's something I never would have imagined, but they put in effort into making it. And they still left the old caves, but the new mineshaft generation looks so good with just a little change like adding wooden posts. Plus it's a better source of wood underground. Just the cavern generation in general. I love it so much. There are only a few weird things about it, which I will talk about now. So I'm sorry. Please understand, I love the cave generation. I am overjoyed about it. But there are 2 weird things. The first is in the most recent snapshot, they added the crack, which is a few random holes in the ground that go down to deepstone level, or deepslate level, basically. These, remember what I talked about with how they're saying the lightning rod takes away that random death of the players? This is the polar opposite of what the lightning rod is trying to do, because this adds a random hole into the ground, and then you fall into it, and then you die. Or you would die if I hadn't turned off fall damage and I tried to switch game mode, but I accidentally hit screenshot. The cracks just don't feel fair to me. The reason that ravines work in the game is because even though it's super deep and you will die if you fall all the way to the bottom, they're a big hole in the ground. You see it from a distance. So you're like, okay, I'm going to be careful not to fall in this. The cracks are the polar opposite. They're a super hard to see, super thin crack in the ground, and then you fall into it and you die. Yeah, it's not very player friendly. So I think having the cracks deep underground would be cool, like underground in the cave generation, but having them go to the surface just feels unfair to me. And the one other thing about the caves that I'm just not sure about the implementation is water caves. Now, they have said that glow squids will probably be in water caves, and I actually haven't tested how this will look, so let's test it right now. Let's summon a glow squid. Here's how a glow squid will look in an underground cave. So, you can now tell most of my major issues with this probably at this point. The number one major issue is visibility. In underwater caves, okay, in current caves, it is already pretty hard to see, but you can light it up with torches. Once you go in the water, you cannot do that. You cannot light it up with torches because they break. You get magma blocks and you get cave lichen, and that's it. The other thing is that once you go into an underwater cave, you either have 10 seconds before you start drowning, or you can basically stay underwater forever because you have a water breathing potion. This is going to sound very strange coming out of my mouth, but I honestly think some sort of oxygen tank would improve the underwater caves. It is just, there is too big of a disparity between, oh, I can't go caving in these at all because I can't breathe underwater, and, oh, now I can breathe underwater and these caves are an absolute joke. Because once you have a water breathing potion, nothing in these caves can threaten you. There are glow squids, and that's it, that's the list. There is nothing else that will spawn in an underwater cave. There are no entities, because nothing spawns underwater unless they had drowned to caves, which, yeah, that could work, that would be cool. But right now, there are no drowned in underwater caves. So they are a dangerless place that is huge, fills, oh man, oh. Okay, I gotta stop ranting because look at this cave generation. I wonder how it would look without night vision. Oh man. Oh man. See, this is exactly what I had wanted from the new cave generation. Can we just talk about it for so much longer? I don't even want to criticize the underwater caves. I'm gonna have to though, so I finish elaborating on my thoughts. The underwater caves, so the issue with them is you can't go in them until you have water breathing potions. I guess that's a balancing level. Once you do have water breathing potions though, it's a total joke. There's nothing that can hurt you, and you can get every single ore with no trouble because they're just exposed. If you find a deep underwater cave, you get so many diamonds, it's ridiculous. If you find one underwater cave, you get diamonds instantly, basically every single time. I'm not sure how underwater caves fit into the balance of the game without drowned in them. So, oh man, this cave is probably the coolest one I've seen yet. It is so tall, it is filled with dripstone, it's got a mine shaft in it. This is how cave generation should look. And then like diamonds scattered around the walls. It might seem super obvious, but when there's no night vision, you can't see anything in these caves. Now I do think, with night vision, these caves are an absolute joke too. Night vision is another issue. Night vision is just overall way too powerful, because it can take all the danger of not being able to see where you're going away. So, all the ambience of the caves is ruined. But you'd be insane not to take a night vision potion with you, because you wouldn't see any ores on the walls. It's another one of those balancing issues. But, generation for the most part is so good I can't even be mad. There is one other strange thing, that is when water and normal caves intersect, there's like a weird bulbous wall. Which, yeah, I guess that makes sense, because you don't want the cave to flood, and that just wouldn't make any sense if there was a cave with no water under a cave with water and they were connected. That just doesn't make any sense. But the way it is now just feels strange to me, because you go into a water cave, right? And then you get to the bottom, and there's just a one block gap, and then it's a normal cave. Like, why? Why is this a thing? Just make it all a water cave? Or make it connect with one of those little water wall things that you get in the huge caves. Because right now it's just strange that a cave cuts off, you break one block, and then it goes spilling out into unearthed cave. Unless that's how real cave generation... Did I just say real cave generation? If that's how caves are in real life, I guess it's fine. But it doesn't feel like how caves are in real life to me yet. Oh, and I guess I just completely skipped over this while talking about the new underground, but expanding the world to -64 instead of just going upward is a brilliant choice, because then you can get stuff like this. I mean, look at this cave. This is another one of those super tall caves. It's normal stone by the top, and then by the bottom, it's Deepslate. So, man, you just get the sense of scale when you sit in this cave and you see how many different stones there are, how many ores, how many lichen, how big the stalactites are. It's just great. My one last question is, how are these caves going to intersect with the surface? They did say that the water entrances were temporary, because right now the only way you can really get into a new cave is you find a water entrance from the surface, and then you break through those weird bulbs to get into the normal cave. I think that's a little janky. Just, can you imagine coming across a big circle in the ground and it opens into this enormous chasm? That's what I want to see. It all depends on how cool the new mountain generation is, because it really does... Okay, look. Here's another example of that weird cave ending thing. Look, cave ends, boop, and then there's more cave. It just... Why does it do that? That doesn't seem right to me. So I hope that surface caves are just holes, and then they go straight into the enormous caverns when they do finally implement them, because right now, either you get a really cool water entrance, and by the way... The new cave underwater ambience is top notch. I mean, just look at this. Look at this. It's like the way the dripstones are outlined in the water fog is so perfect. I love it. But that, I think, is about the end of this video. That's all the major things I wanted to talk about today. It is new cave generation is awesome. Most of the new blocks are awesome. Some of them are a little strange. Some of them I would change a few things about. But for the most part, Caves and Cliffs is looking to be an awesome update. So I guess we'll just have to wait an agonizing amount of time until July for it to be fully released. But for now, I do want to tell you all, thanks for watching, and I will see you later.